Now, my story is a continuation of what Rico talked about, the settlement in New York of this nonsensical suit that Kathy Hochul was trying to put lipstick on the pig about. And it's from Law 360. New York pot regulators will settle suits that stalled licensure. And what you guys talked about yesterday was the 600,000 pounds of CBN boof that's being stored in New York before it goes out to dispensaries. When I read this story, what I saw was a typical problem that we see and are going to continue to see around the nation. New York passed a state law, and these are what we call enabling statutes. They then give regulators the authority to go out and write these nitpicky regulations, okay? And one of the issues is always, have you exceeded your authority from the enabling statutes? And the cases that we're talking about, there was a couple of veterans and then some others that fit into a category the state legislature had created for social equity. And these included veterans, people with cannabis crimes. So what the regulators decided to do was when they put out this control, these conditional, I'm sorry, I'm having a brain fart this morning. These conditional adult use dispensary licenses, they limited them to only people who had a New York State cannabis crime. You couldn't have a federal cannabis crime, not veterans. So the groups that came in were groups that had already passed a lot of the process and were ready to open. And then they decided we're going to limit it to this group. And they said, hold on, I don't think you have the power to do that because it exceeds what the regulators said. I mean, what the state and the legislature and the enabling statute said. And the court agreed with them. They issued an injunction. Veterans group and a group of other applicants got an injunction in place. They stopped all of it, okay, which is just a mess because now all the CBN booth is going to sit there till they figure this shit out. But the problem involves overstepping the legislative mandate and the authority of these enabling statutes. And it also involves social equity because these are set up for social equity, which spills over into what we talked about before, the dormant commerce clause. So what it looks like happened here is the state regulators decided to settle with the people who filed the suit. But what they didn't fix was that the enabling statute has a group of people that qualify for social equity that's expansive. And the regulators did this in a very restrictive way. Now, last year, the United States Supreme Court threw out some environmental regulations. They claimed the regulators went beyond the authority given to them by Congress. I think this is another spinoff of the same sort of mindset that we gave you the ability to write regulations within certain parameters, and you went outside the bounds. So we're going to rein you in. Now, I think this is going to move things forward. The problem is until the legislature puts this conditional adult use dispensary language into the enabling statute, it can't be enforced anymore. So that screws up social equity for people. Okay? And it's like social equity is always given the last ticket to the dance anyway. I just see this as a continuing problem for any state that's going to try to do social equity. If you are not clear in your enabling statutes, like New York wasn't, you're going to just open up a can of worms here that is going to lead to litigation, and people that you're trying to help with social equity are going to be left standing there, holding their virile member going nowhere. So we keep talking about people learning from other mistakes. We've had enough issues come up with these enabling statutes. And one of the things that you need to pay attention to if you're going to be in the industry and the state passes laws are enabling statutes. As the regulations roll out, every state has a mechanism for input. Okay? Once you get the regulations defined, they're supposed to be sent for review. And in California, it's the Office of Administrative Law. They're supposed to look for things like this. Have you exceeded your regulatory authority? Is this going to be a problem with any other statutes and regulations? If you don't take all that seriously, you're setting people that want to get up in the industry another litigation bill to have to pay on top of the excess taxes, the cost for regulations. So you would hope that they would learn, but this just tells me they're not learning. These people still have their head about 4 feet up their ass. And whoever is pushing them politically to do this stuff, that's where you need to focus. They're the problem. And it typically is people whose industry is going to take a hit if they fully enable all of cannabis to be put forward as a viable economic entity. So it's a continuation of what we talked about, Rico, but it's my slant, what I see as a practicing attorney, that these are the problems that are being created. I mean, as the litigator, hell, make these things. I'll be happy to take your money and litigate. The problem is it doesn't fix anything. You're setting people up to spend extra money in litigation. You shouldn't have to. And I'm not fully retired yet, just to be clear. I'm kind of hanging around as the old goat, semi-retired.
Yeah. Dale, I mean, the young ones need guidance, Dale. So we're glad you're staying on.
Well, the problem is, can you get them to listen to an old goat like me?
They'll listen. I mean, they may not listen, but they'll hear you. You know what I mean?
Well, I've been to
Hmm.
prison. I know a couple of guys.
You
So
know a
it's like,
couple
you want to hear
guys.
me now?
Yeah.
Or I'm going to send some pipe smoking dudes over with pliers.
Yep.
Send the goons.
Oh man,
Well,
that
I'm glad we got your take on this one, Dale, because I was very, very, very intrigued by this whole legal proceeding and how it went down. And like my take, like yo, this whole social equity movement has been flawed from the beginning. Um, and as we will see, when federal legalization, whatever that looks like, as we inch towards that, you're going to have more and more lawsuits because it's unconstitutional, especially with the fall of affirmative action recently. You can see less
Mm.
and less favors being given out to people, whether they morally deserve help or not. The fact of the matter is, it's business, and in business and in capitalism, it's not about consciousness. I don't believe in conscious capitalism, like, at all. It is a system, and these people do have a right to sue if they don't get the same opportunities as you do. So this is why I keep on saying it. I've said it from the beginning. I'm going to say it for years. Like, we needed to talk about reparations. If you want to talk about righting the wrongs of that were done on these communities, the data's out there. We have the proof. We got the Nixon tapes. It was a 100% targeted attack on black and brown communities from the jump. Break these
mhm.
people off of reparations. And don't give them
Well,
licenses if they don't know how to run businesses just because you live somewhere. Like how's that going to help you if you don't know how to run a business?
Well, you're right too, Rico, and on that too. Troy Lawrence also brings up a very interesting point in the chat. He says there's no equity for the disabled owners.
Yeah,
It was built off the backs of the medical preference, and he says it's foolish. Stick to helping people. Keep it medical.
yeah, yeah. That's what
Yeah.
we keep on coming back to too, man.
Yeah.
Whole reason we have a quote unquote industry
Is because
because of medical,
exactly.
because of the gay community in the '80s, right?
No,
Um,
because of the AIDS epidemic in the
yeah,
in
in the
the
gay
80s and
community.
90s. Yep.
Hmm.
Mhm.
And it's because of medical usage, and all these bills get passed, all these adult use and provisions go forward.
Yep.
I hear less and less, and I talked about it in my story. I hear less and less talk about cannabis as medicine,
Mhm.
right? And we're talking about it like it's a straight up business. It's an illegal, federally illegal business. And who runs capitalism right now? They don't look like me.
Some of them
So
do.
you
well,
very,
but
very few, and less than
you don't get
1%
to
in
go
our
into the
industry.
back rooms, Rico. You don't get
Right,
invited to the back rooms, and that's
right.
the problem.
I get
And
paraded. I
one of
get
the
paraded
concerns
as a
I have,
mascot out front and say, look what we're doing. We're helping out these people, right? Give us more money so we can give them, a couple of pennies off of the dollars that we're making,
So you
right?
saying
And that's what
are you saying you don't like working crowd control, Rico?
I keep a camera in my hand and a bag in my pocket, man. I let the crowd do
well,
its thing, man. I just surf.
Just surf,
the
huh? Just
idea
crowd
behind
surf.
social equity is a laudable one. And those of us who have cannabis criminal records understand that, hey, I got drug into this because my wife got cancer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I wasn't out, trying to lobby the legislature. I had to deal with cancer, and smoking pot kept her alive. The medical industry was a bunch of fucking pussies that wouldn't get involved, so we got involved, and we just poked the tiger,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and ended up in prison. But I, I have not made use of my status as a disabled veteran or a criminal with a cannabis record, because Rico, I don't look like you. Okay,
Yep.
I didn't have to fight prejudice. I mean, I had to deal with getting into the UC system before the Baki case, but I got into college. I didn't have any issues with that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I also don't want to be precluded from going to New York and saying I'm a disabled veteran, I have a cannabis crime. God damn it, I want to get in the front of the line with everybody else. I should be able to do that. That's the dormant commerce clause problem that they're having. Okay,
Mhm.
I mean, I'm an attorney. I did pretty well. I came out of prison. I still had a law license. I can survive. But it's how many people came out of prison? Their family had left them, or it's just demolished. They have nothing. What are you going to do? And the idea of trying to give them a leg up is laudable. But what I keep finding is when I sit down with these people, they are used as a shoehorn to get rich people into the business. Okay. And it pisses me off because I confront these rich motherfuckers, and I tell you, they hate me because I've been invited to the back room where we're going to talk about shit that you don't say in public, and I call their ass out. Okay?
Right.
They don't like me. And I don't know how we fix this because the people who are supposed to be helped don't have a voice that really gets heard. They get used, then they get kicked to the curb.
Mm-hmm.
Right
I
on.
have some successful equity clients. We just got a dispensary open in Sacramento. God love them. Women of color. It's wonderful, okay, when it works. But
And
when it doesn't, it's another kick in the nuts.
and on that, Dale, thank you for that. We got to go to a commercial. We're going to be right back.